Persona 1. It sure is a game, and it sure does exist. In fact, you could probably say it's a game that exists. It's my personal favorite first game in the Persona franchise, but this video is not about Shin Megami Tensei Persona, it is about Revelations Persona, the less good English version of the original PS1 game. Persona 1 was one of Atlus's first attempts of breaking into the English gaming market. Up until that point, they'd mostly stuck to the Japanese market because they didn't think their games would be received well by Americans, particularly Christian parents who would be horrified by games where you summon demons for fun. Persona 1 in particular has an infamously bad localization, and it's all because of the attempts that were made to make the game sell well in the American market. For some reason, they thought us Americans wouldn't dare to play a game that takes place in Japan, so the localization team did everything in their power to pretend it actually takes place in America. To do this, they removed or changed every possible reference to Japanese culture. This includes changing the name of the town this game takes place in from Mikage-cho to Lunar Vale, and they also gave every main character a redesign, which ranges from hair color and name changes to Jesus Christ, how did they not think this might be just a little bit racist? They also did just in general a shit job with the translation, and they even cut out an entire alternate route just because they didn't feel like translating all of it. But enough about the shitty translation. Without further ado, let's get into the game itself. The game begins with an opening cinematic, as Persona games often do, but instead of a catchy song with weird cryptic imagery, it's just the cryptic imagery and nothing else. Wow, 12 seconds in and tragedy has already struck. Rest in peace, toy blocks. The game starts for real with our main characters gathered in an empty classroom calling out to their personas. You see, this game takes place before the rules of this universe got super strict. Back then you could apparently just get a persona by asking. After the fun game of failed Persona awakening, everyone in the room is suddenly knocked unconscious. Or at least I'm pretty sure everyone did, despite the fact that only 3 of them do it on screen. Maybe they're just dead, I don't know. While unconscious, you're transported to the 90s 3D animation test dimension, and contacted by this guy, Philemon. Philemon then proceeds to explain what a persona is, and he's shockingly transparent about it. Usually characters like this in other games are more needlessly cryptic. He then asks me who I am. Well, usually in games like this, I just use whatever the canon name is, so let's see, Well, according to the wiki, the protagonist's name is Boy with Earring, so we'll just go with that. Except I can't fit the whole thing in, so Boy with E will have to suffice. When Boy with E wakes up, he's in the school infirmary, alongside the rest of the group, and is told by Miss Smith, "You can tell she's American because her last name is Smith," to head to the hospital just in case, and to visit their friend Mary, who's been hospitalized for the past year. But fuck Mary, I can finally explore this environment. If for some reason you haven't noticed this already, this game uses an isometric style for its environments, or at least for the indoor environments. Every room you can visit is at an angle from the player's perspective, but not from the controller's perspective, although it's possible this is just an issue with my emulation. Yeah, I'm emulating this game, sorry I don't want to spend $500 on the lesser version of this game. In every room like this, the camera is at a southwestern angle, but the D-pad acts like it's still straight. It's a bit annoying, but it's still leagues better than the controls of the last game I reviewed, so that's a plus. If you're wondering about the mysterious flashing pink houseplant in the corner, you're in the minority because nobody else in the room seems to be all that fazed by it. If you talk to the nurse, she'll start telling you how it's a special plant she found and that you should go talk to it sometimes. This game's explanation for saving is telling a freaky pink plant that definitely exists all about what you've accomplished up until this point. I've seen worse reasons. The rest of the school is a bunch of other isometric rooms connected by 3-dimensional hallways you explore in the first person. There's so many rooms, there must be a lot to see here. Never mind, I'm getting the fuck out of here. When you leave the school, you're introduced to yet another type of overworld exploration. The town is represented by this primitive 3D overworld that you have to walk across manually. I wandered around for like 5 minutes trying to find the hospital, but I kept just getting progressively more and more lost because every house looks exactly the same. It also didn't help that I found this spot where I couldn't cross the street because there's cars on the street, and I tried interacting with this pole thinking it would let me use the crosswalk, but there is no crosswalk, I'm just an idiot. How was I supposed to know that's the town's border? Everything looks the same, this doesn't make sense. Oh, there's a map button. Whoops. I'm also as far away from the hospital as possible. At the hospital, we're introduced to Mary. Right after I spent several minutes being lost again because I forgot to ask what room number was hers. I continued to be confused because the doors aren't labeled, but Mary's door has a yellow note on it, and I even noticed the note, but for some reason I was incapable of determining that it was probably there for a reason. We get another cutscene, this time of the group talking to Mary, right before she starts having an episode. One so powerful it warps reality so much that now the hospital has a different layout, and the peaceful music and ambient sounds is replaced with foreboding music and distant screams. Apparently there's demons all over the place now. You can tell because they're right there. It's a subtle reference to the fact this game is about killing demons. Oh no guys, look out! It's men. You can tell by how green they are. Combat time, oh boy. I hope I'm good at this. Going into this game after playing all of its successors didn't do much to help make the combat seem easy to grasp. In fact, I think it honestly made it worse. It's not that bad, it's just kinda complicated. A lot of the attacks in this game weren't used for future installments, and the ones that were are named differently, and I'm not sure if that's part of the original or if it's a translation thing. The main gimmick of this combat system is that physical placement of your party members plays a large role, so you have to strategically place your party members based on where they would work best. Characters can only do physical attacks if they're close enough to the enemies, but being at the front makes them more likely to take damage. It's an interesting system that forces you to take into account what characters would work best in which positions. Doesn't mean I'm any good at it though. If you don't feel like fighting, you can also try to communicate with the enemies. You see, they have this little graph showing their percentages in all 4 types of emotions. You add to these meters by interacting with them and provoking certain emotions, which can cause different effects based on the emotion. Although I'm not very good at this either, so more often than not I just accidentally piss them off and have to fight anyways. I'm now outside again, running on foot to the shrine all the way across town. Although now, random enemy encounters are a thing, and they get real annoying real quick. It did force me to get a little bit better at the combat, but man, I'm literally just walking here. Stop attacking me, you green pile of shit. I may have started to get the hang of the combat, but what I can't get over is the battle voice lines. Why do they all sound so unthreatening? I had to hear all of those way too many times on my way to this stupid shrine. You know, there's a reason I'm in charge and you're not. This body over here is Mary's mother, Nancy, who apparently worked on the big science fair project that began spawning demons in the first place. She also got shot and is dying. I'm then forced to take Nancy to the school across the street, where we just put her on the ground again because making a sprite of somebody carrying her was far too much work. I'm now inside the school again. Now would be a great time to explore a bit more. Let's see. Okay, geez, you don't need to yell. This classroom is no longer in use. What is in use then? Most of the non-vacant classrooms have just 1 or 2 students inside, most of which are aware of the chaos outside but don't seem to be all that bothered by it. Probably accurate, honestly. Love thy neighbor. I didn't know this was a Catholic school. I think I'm lost now. This map is far too confusing. Oh, thank God there's the entrance. Your can't leave right now. But I'm wanted to leave. The canon rest of this story is that Boy with E wanders the school hallway for the rest of his days and eventually dies, and the end. And the demons left because they had better things to do, I guess.